How's everyone doing today? Wednesday morning here in Sydney, Australia, 6:30 a.m. First live stream of the day. We'll see if I'll be able to squeeze another live stream in today. I'm not quite sure. I have a busy day with clients here in Sydney at my gym. We do have some fights on today. So if you're a member of the Discord, Johnny says Boxing VIP Insiders. If you're not a member, click the link that's pinned in the comment section. It's a couple bucks a month. It gives you more access on YouTube. It gives you more accessibility to myself on other social media channels. More importantly, you get to become a member of our Discord. Our Discord is a growing boxing community. Sign up here, get access to the Discord. Yesterday, I gave you guys my 5-legger for today's fights. We have the Dana White Contender Series, and I gave you my picks in the Discord. So it's a 5-legger, and you know what? We hit all 5 last week on the Contender Series. I think it came out to a plus 340. We took the favorites, and we took one dog. We took Cam Roston, the kid from City Kickboxing, and it went our way. So we hit. After, I spent about like 4 hours watching a lot of regional MMA, watching a lot, looking at a lot of the matchups. And I got to be honest with you, I don't see the matchups today on Dana White's Contender Series. I don't see many opportunities for any upsets. So when in doubt, it's going to be a lot of chalk. If you take the favorites, it comes out, a little bit more than 2-1. So there will be risk versus reward considering their prospects. So what I tell everybody, you don't have to go heavy. You know what I'm saying? This is the calm before the storm. September is a huge month. We do have boxing fights this weekend. I'll get into those in a second. If you're putting money on the fights just for entertainment, just sprinkle a little something. If you are going about this like a professional bettor, join the Discord. We have professional boxing bettors in the Discord. You get to chat with them, you get to talk to them, and they're very active in there. And these are guys, their whole career is literally finding a couple fights a month, not a lot of crazy odds, and putting thousands on it. And, we're learning a lot both from the entertainment side, and I know you're learning a lot from the professional side. So there's a lot of value in the Discord. If you guys are Aussies like myself, obviously I'm an American, but I've been in Australia since 2013. We have been getting killed in Australia with the draws. We're turning the page now for boxing. You could go back to, I'm sure there's more, but literally maybe a month ago with the Gucci Flores versus Jorge Chavez fight. From that point on, Gucci Flores versus Jorge Chavez, which was a draw, you could find, I think every week since then, in a main event or co-main event, we've had draws. So I reference that because if you're in Australia, change your sports book, because sports bet, the draw ruins your parlay because they force you to do a 3-way odds, meaning that you'll get juicier odds on the money line on sports bet, but if it's a draw, you're toast. So the odds I'm about to read to you guys are from Bet365. Now, if you're not in Australia, I'm pretty sure your sports books, the draw doesn't ruin your parlay. It just voids the bet. Guys, I'd much rather have a void bet than a goddamn loss due to a draw. So these odds I'm going to read to you, Bet365. I woke up, I went to bed last night. We didn't have any options to bet on. I woke up this morning, we got 4 fights. And you guys should know all 4 fighters who are actually favorites in these fights based off of, this isn't a casual channel. I don't have a lot of casuals on my channel. And we'll go over those in a second. Let me check in with everybody. Dwayne Styles, salute, boxing fan, my guy. What's up, big dog? Steve Martinez, what's the Dana White Contender Series pick? Steve, check it out in the Discord, big dog. I give you my whole parlay. Terrell Fearon back in the house. What's up, Ty? Steve Martinez. Yep. DJ Green. What's up? DJ says, right. I hit 7 draws this year. Never seen so. Oh, so you, damn DJ. So you're sprinkling on the draw. See, this is something, guys, that 2 months ago, if one of the boys like DJ said that, to hedge a bet, he's gonna sprinkle on the draw, I wouldn't have believed him. You know what I'm saying? I would have been like, yeah, you're just saying that because there's been a lot of draws. But then having watched the last 2 months of boxing, and then in the Discord we show our receipts, this is actually in this day and age right now of maybe it's just we're going through a phase. It's a smart move to whatever your parlay is, you know, hedging on a draw isn't a bad idea. Me personally, I've never hit on a draw. I've never bet on a draw. I think I bet on one draw 2 weeks ago, and it was a live bet. It was the there was a draw in between Pacquiao and Barrios and Omar Trinidad. There was another card, and we were streaming it in the Discord, and the draw was trending, and I sprinkled a little bit on it, and then it ended up becoming a split. But it's not a bad move, guys, to actually hedge on the draw, so I don't mind that at all. Guys, when you're tapping in, let's like the video. Let's hit subscribe if you haven't already. DJ, I usually always screenshot and show my receipts. Yeah, of course. The receipts are always up. Boxing fan, these judges are professional illustrators nowadays. It's a good way of putting it. You know what I'm saying? I was watching another live stream the other day, a couple days ago, and one of the guys brought up a good point. I mean, it could... This is sort of the travesty in pro boxing is you never know. You know, if somebody were to do the calculations and kind of make a list of where the draws are taking place in terms of casinos, who knows? It could be one of these things where the casino has some skin in the game in terms of, you know, think about how much money comes in and comes out on win-losses, and how that's why draws are usually 16, 17 to 1, because it shows you, it signifies the money isn't coming in on the draw. So I'm not saying this happens, but you never know. Whenever you see so many draws in boxing out of nowhere, you'd have to, people start thinking a little bit, you know, maybe something fishy's going on. What if the casino does have skin in the game and they're like, you know what, we're not going to take the belt from this guy and we're not going to give this guy the belt, but, you know, let him keep his belt, but let's get paid. Draw. Send the message to the judges. They get on the phone, they got their earpiece, you know, tell Adelaide Bird, you know, fix one of those scorecards up. You know, she's the GOAT of awful judges, in my opinion. Cheatham as well. But we were doing a short list of who are the GOATs of the worst judges in boxing. Adelaide Bird is and will always be my GOAT of awful judges. So, guys, Kevin Saggio is fighting. Kevin Saggio. He is, if you guys are unaware of Kevin Saggio, he's the number 8 ranked super middleweight in the world. There's a card going down my Friday in Australia, Thursday night in America, and it has 2 fighters in the top 10 in their respective divisions in the world. Nobody's talked about this card. I just woke up to the news of this card. It's going down in France. You guys know how I feel about betting on French fighters, but it's the main event. You got the number 8 ranked, I think she's a featherweight, Rima Ayadi. She's ranked number 8 in the world at feather. And you got Elif Turhan, number 3 in the world at lightweight. These are ladies. And right now, so it's number 8 versus number 3. And Bet365 has Ayadi as the dog, which I think is rightfully so. Rima Ayadi's in her mid to late 30s. Elif Turhan, she's from Turkey. She's going to be the heavier girl moving down. She's $1.53. I'm actually going to do film study on this. But I'm going to be uploading today Albert Bell versus Keith Hunter. Albert Bell is fighting Keith Hunter in Ohio. Albert Bell's an undefeated Ohio fighter, 27-0. He's already 32 years old now. You'll recognize Albert Bell. They call him the Prince. He used to be promoted by Top Rank. He's just one of these guys that never really got a big fight. His style, he's a great boxer, very skilled boxer, just doesn't have a lot of knockouts, doesn't really take a lot of risks. He's going to point fight you, win on the cards, but he frustrates his opponents. And 27-0, 32 years old, nice pro career. No one's ever beaten him. I want to see him tested. He's fighting against Keith Hunter. He should handle Keith pretty well. He's a huge favorite. I think I just might do, you know, my due diligence to give a tip of the cap to the Ohio fighter, considering that's where I come from. I'm going to upload Albert Bell versus Keith Hunter. And then I got some insider information that isn't really that insider, because he made a comment. He made a comment on our YouTube channel. He's a Johnny Says Boxing insider. I want to give a shout out. He trains with Sean Hemphill. We know Sean Hemphill. We just saw him on the channel 2 months ago. He fought against Mark Jeffers. Sean Hemphill's taking on Ty Mitchell. And actually, the odds aren't as far as I thought they would be. So Sean Hemphill's $1.22. Ty Mitchell's $4. So 100 on Ty gets your money back plus 300. He's about a 3-1. Rumor is, Ty Mitchell, it's public knowledge. He went away for a while. He got into a street fight. He killed a guy with a punch. He went to prison for a little bit. Sean Hemphill allegedly is having a great camp. He's kind of, I think, yeah, he's ranked internationally. He's number 44 in the world on BoxRec's algorithm in the light heavyweight division. And everyone's saying if you could get him by decision, get him by decision. The money line's at $1.22. I'm not getting odds or options on the decision, but we'll see. So I am going to put a parlay together. I'm going to take two fighters, and let's see what these odds pay up. I like Kevin Sajo by stoppage. I like Elif Turan, the girl from Turkey, at $1.53. I like Sean Hemphill by decision. And I like Elber Bell by decision. So the question is, are we going to be able to get options to bet method of victories? I think we will. Guys, I always talk about it. We're archaeologists. We're on like an archaeological dig searching for bones and artifacts and old fossils. I'm going to find you a parlay. I'm going to find us a win. We've hit wins. I don't want you guys have the receipts. Nobody's 100%, but on the Discord since we started, go to my channel that says Johnny's Slips. We hit every week. Even last week when nobody hit, we hit. We hit on the Dana White Contender Series. We hit a five leg, and we hit on John Rivera. We hit a 5-leg on the John Rivera card on. It was the prospect card. So I'm gonna find us a win. There's no doubt in my mind. We're gonna piece together a win, whether it's gonna be today with Dana White or it's gonna be this weekend in Paris or Ohio. So if you want to get those bets, I'm gonna give the YouTube channel. I'm gonna give the loyalists who haven't joined the Discord, I'm going to give them a parlay as well. I got to take care of everybody. Muscle Brown in the house, tapping in. Muscles and I came to a form of an agreement. So we both came to the terms that the GOAT of all time in NBA is Michael Jordan. You might hear me talk a lot of shit because I'm from Ohio. But how do you go against MJ as the GOAT? Little side conversation. And Muscles' number 2 is Kobe. My number 2 is LeBron, obviously. But anyway, Michael Jordan is and will always be the GOAT. I mean, come on, dude. So, yeah, I concede. So, did somebody just say Salt Poppy? Yeah, I'm not getting those bets. DJ Green, are you getting those bets? Are you getting options to bet on Salt Poppy versus Tony Ferguson? And then Darren Till versus Rockhold? And if you are getting okay, you're not. Yeah, I'm not seeing it either. But you gotta think if you gotta think those will open up. I think those will open up. Because Ty Mitchell's on the card. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's the sports book are doing, maybe they're getting more critical of the influencer boxing. But I mean, we already talked about it. Luke Rockhold, legit former UFC champion. Darren Till at one time was a perennial contender. Tony Ferguson at one time had the longest winning streak in lightweight history. And so these are legit fighters. And for Bet365 to only be offering the only real boxer who's legit ranked in the rankings, Sean Hemphill, it's actually kind of, I didn't think, you'd have to think they're going to offer those other two, though, as kind of like a carrot to dangle to get the boys betting. Peachtree, Kiza, they will be out by Saturday. Yes, Kiza in the house. Kiza represent UK. Poppy until knockout, I think. DJ Green, I only got next weekend's fights. I've been doing film study on those fights. Next weekend, we got some good fights next weekend. Iglesias versus Shishkin. I think people are sleeping on Shishkin. I was telling you guys this a month ago. When that, I know it's, on the regular boxing fandom level, Iglesias versus Shishkin is an obscure fight. But in the boxing head, our channel, we know who Iglesias is. We know who Shishkin is. And, Shishkin's coming off, he lost to William Skull. But I was doing, because I'm interested in these odds. Shishkin is a 6-1 dog. I mean, I know on paper people are going to be like, dude, Iglesias is going to knock Shishkin out, especially if you look at the box rec and you just see that he lost the decision to William Skull. But rewatch that fight. I thought the scorecards were, a little bit all over the place. Shishkin's a good boxer. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say I'm jumping on 6-1 right now, but I'm not saying I'm not jumping on 6-1. Especially we've seen what's been happening with these odds, crazy odds lately going into the fight. When one guy is a big favorite, the other guy isn't. It's almost like Vegas might not be in. These odds makers obviously don't watch boxing, and I think sometimes we could get tricked into thinking that like the odds makers are the high and almighty. But yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I'm betting on the distance. DJ says that bell card. All right, here we go. We're starting to heat up. Heaven Sent, that bell card looks great. There's a heavyweight fight between two guys who got a bunch of losses. Yeah, right now Heaven Sent, I'm only getting the Albert Bell fight versus Hunter, but I'm gonna do it. Guys, I'm doing a Stats Don't Lie upload on the channel today. I haven't been able to do one since the Nikita Zhu fight last week because I was getting my camera updated. My the best piece of tech I've ever bought is my Sony Alpha A2. I use this. I got an investor to buy that for me when I filmed my documentary in 2020 in Myanmar. But that camera, that's why my Stats Don't Lie videos look a different way. But I got that fixed. It's sitting right here, and I'll be uploading my Albert Bell breakdown, and I want to get to the Ty Mitchell, Sean Hemphill breakdown as well. DJ, I can't wait to the Shishkin fight. My guy, what's up, Ty? Says even Chase Demore has odds. Ty, isn't Chase Demore that influencer, former pro? Is he a former pro athlete? I recognize the name. I'm not too sort of like hip with the influencer boxing stuff without trying to age myself. You know what I'm saying? But the name looks familiar. Was Chase Demore a football player? I don't know why I know that name. Shishkin seems pretty durable. Maybe by Thursday. Sometimes the odds are a bit late. Heaven Sent says, I'm surprised how many don't understand Osley Iglesias. I've talked with someone from a huge boxing show who haven't. Oh, Iglesias is. He must not have a good boxing. If he's from, guys, Heaven Sent brings up a good point. Heaven Sent says he's surprised he talked to somebody from a huge boxing show. They don't know who Iglesias is. Don't judge the number of subscribers, especially in the boxing genre, the YouTube content creator genre, on knowledge, because I'm somewhere kind of in between. You know what I'm saying? The big guys have like 200, 100, 200, 300,000 subs. They've been in the game for a while. That doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. I'm like low end. I have a little bit over, I'm around 27,000 subs, but the guys I listen to, the ones that I trust in their film study, some have 200 subs. Some have 1,000 subs. Some have, 600 subs, and they know their shit. I put them, I go to them to see what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? So you can't judge. It doesn't surprise me, Heaven Sent, that a guy with 200,000 subs or whatever, somebody with a big platform, doesn't know Iglesias, because a lot of these guys are clickbait channels, and we know the unfortunate side of YouTube is their algorithm works on buzzwords and keywords, and the boxing heads stay with boxing. That's what we do. DJ, and he's real patient, doesn't force anything. You got Heaven Sent thinks Iglesias is knocking out Shishkin. I like that fight to go the distance. We'll see. That's not my pick though yet. DJ sprinkling something on Shishkin. I think, yeah, I'm gonna break that down. I gotta watch more, but people are sleeping on Shishkin. 6-1 is extremely offensive. Those odds. Trust me on that. Kiza says Iglesias is gonna smoke Shishkin. Fair point. I didn't think he beat Skull, but was a shit fight. Yeah, it wasn't. The odds were. You must like blood then, Kiza. Yeah, I know you're a UK guy, right? I come for blood. Boxing fan, Johnny. What was that leave parlay decision or stoppage? So, what's up, boxing fan? Right now I have Elif. She's the number 3 ranked fighter for the ladies at 135 pounds. She's undefeated. She's from Turkey. She's fighting in France against Rina Ayadi. I think it's a main event. I got Elif at $1.53. She has a little bit of power. I think she's 10-0 with 6 stoppages. She's going against a girl who's like 11-0 with 1 knockout, who's actually the slight underdog. right now, the $1.53 on the money line is enough for me on a parlay. If I were to pick an outcome, I would take the Turkish girl, Elif Turan, by decision. I like Iglesias to beat Shishkin's possible stoppage. Muscles agrees with you, Kiza. Heaven sent off topic, but it seems that nobody is buying let me know flying drones anymore. That's super off topic, mate. Terrell Typhoon, yeah, he was muscle, but the odds on Iglesias are a bit too wide. They are too wide. They're probably going to change the closer we get to next week. Lambo Gallardo, does boxing knowledge only translate from direct? No, Lambo, it's a great question. Lambo Gallardo says, does boxing knowledge only translate from direct ring experience? No, some of the greatest coaches never boxed. You know what I'm saying? And you could see this trickle down in other sports. Does it help? I feel, for instance, to be a great coach, think about Customato. Customato was a psychologist. Customato was a guy in his later years who used nonverbal communication. He used hypnotism to work with athletes. So, and we know Cuss, had Floyd Patterson. At one time, Floyd Patterson was the youngest heavyweight champion, and then the modern era knows Cuss from Mike Tyson, etc. And then eventually, even though Cuss had passed, Mike beat that Floyd Patterson record of being the youngest heavyweight champion. So that's a great bullet point example of you don't have to have boxed to be a great coach. Now, with analysis work, does boxing knowledge only translate from direct ring? From analysis work. So I coach, I grew up boxing, I never went pro, but I still train. From my perspective, when I watch guys who break down fights, even in MMA, you know what I mean, growing up boxing, watching MMA my entire life, training, I could tell if a channel who has a huge MMA following, who's breaking down fights, have never fought. You could kind of tell if somebody is analyzing a boxing match if they've never boxed, if they've never been in a ring, if they don't know about space and distance, if they don't know about setups, if they don't know about traps, if they don't know what feints are, if they don't use certain words, you could kind of tell that they've never boxed. Does that mean that they don't know what they're talking about? Not all the time. You know what I'm saying? Not all the time. So it's a good question. I think Lambo Gallardo, it's up to us individually who we turn to in terms of knowledge and what you also like. You know what I'm saying? Some people turn to for the entertainment. Some people like the sort of minutia of the sport, the technical side, the small things, the game within the game. So it's all about what you like. Johnny, not even warmed up. Appreciate you. Guys, we're 22 minutes in. We got about 30 of the boys in here. Like this video. 6 likes is highly depressing. I talked about the odds with Shishkin and Iglesias being offensive. 6 people liking my live stream. Pretty offensive. But it's all good, boys. I got thick skin. DJ Green says, I just don't think Shishkin is going to get stopped. I don't think he's going to get stopped either. Heaven sent. I agree. You have to be unbiased when you're betting, let alone want it. Yeah. You can't be biased, Heaven said. You're right. And boxing fans, right? I think that's what's helped my channel grow over the long run is that, you guys will see me bet against fighters that I like. I mean, it was hard for me to cover Dana Coolwell versus Chop Chop Rodriguez or Chop Chop Gonzalez. Albert Chop Chop, the top prospect out of Robert Garcia's Boxing Academy. It was tough for me to break down Chop Chop versus Dana and then Dana versus Shushu because I'm friends with Dana. He's a great guy, great young fighter. And, I had to break it down. I featured him, and I had to tell you guys, he's an awesome dude, an awesome human, but I don't think he beats Shushu, and I don't think he beats Chop Chop. He actually fought Chop Chop way better than people thought. There were some really close rounds against Chop Chop, and but that's an example. So it burned me on this. It burned me on this example, but Raleigh Romero, because of everything that you get with Raleigh, him being a super underdog, him being an overachiever. I told you guys Raleigh's one of my favorite fighters, but I bet against him, with Ryan, and that burned me. So yeah, you got to be unbiased. I like boxing as well, but that fight was not entertaining. I agree, Kiza. Bro, if you're betting on chick boxing, you need to call that number. You need to call that number. Well, I could debate you on that, Henry Williams. We win a lot of money on the ladies. I used to manage a lady fighter. We hit on, just every week we went on the ladies. So I wouldn't, pick to not pick on fighters based on gender. Matchups do matter. I definitely like this matchup in France. I got to be honest with you, Henry. The girl coming down from 135, she's from Turkey, ranked number 3 in the world, going up against a girl who's coming up from who is a natural 30, who has no crack, no pop, and I like those odds. And every time Gabby Fundora fights, we know we're taking her by stoppage. I mean, Amanda Serrano versus Katie. Come on, dude. The ladies could crack. They're some of my favorite fights to watch of the ladies, to be honest with you. Kiza, I mean, 2-minute rounds, instant action. Let's go. I'm one of the few ones who love that skull fight. And Shakur. Heaven sent. I talked about. I like Shakur. One of my favorite Shakur fights was Edwin De Los Santos, but I get cooked for saying that. Cough, cough, showbiz. Yeah, showbiz. He's got caught. He's like an yeah. Showbiz kind of got stuck in this place of he's an influencer. You know what I'm saying? I don't know much about him. My money is on Johnny stretching out more than half these content. Wow, we're gonna have a. I'm a lover though, boxing fan. I'm an old head too. Loving skull fight is insane. Yeah, I don't love. I actually like the De Los Santos versus. I like Shakur versus De Los Santos though. I've watched him multiple times. My reason for liking the De Los Santos versus Shakur fight is I used to get bullied as a kid, and I hate bullies. And I loved watching De Los Santos try to bully Shakur, trying to, with his one direction action. He couldn't even touch him. And hearing the announcers and all the shit talkers and casuals online tweeting, it's like, dude, Shakur exposed this dude. Shakur made De Los Santos in a boxing match with only gloves with a little close proximity area. Why is it called the squared circle? This is another thing. Why is it called the squared circle? How can a circle be a square? Well, the total circumference of a circle is 360 degrees. Total circumference, 360 degrees. You cut the 360 by 4, divide 360 by 4, you get what? 90. You take 90, 490-degree angles, boom, you got a ring, the squared circle, based on a diameter and total circumference. Why does that relate to Shakur versus De Los Santos? Because you trained for this your entire life as a fighter. You train to cut the ring off. You know about angles. You know about why you want to get a guy in a corner. Predictability. You know Shakur's a southpaw. He couldn't cut the ring off. He couldn't touch him because Shakur was too quick, too slick, too fast. His reaction time was on point. I love that fight. Crawford versus Canelo. Who you got? Too soon. We got 2 weeks, big dog. Mick Conlon versus Jake Bateson. Who you got? That's next week. Ask me next week, big dog. Frank B. Overs is becoming the play, betting on it minus 1,000. Isn't Frank, man? Frank B. Guys, highlight this comment. Frank B. says the over is becoming the play, betting on minus 1,000 isn't a lock anymore. I think more importantly, Frank, you're not lying in terms of big favorites aren't a lock, right? So and I'm not saying you're wrong with the overs. Because think about it, because when is the underdog stopping the big favorite? This is a great point. I think Frank B just dropped the knowledge of the day. You guys should be having light bulb moments with this one regarding, think about it. Even with the draws, if you guys would have picked Rafferty over Chamberlain, draw. If you guys would have picked Rivera, Yankee, over Cordova, draw. But if you'd have lost, right? Big favorites. But if you'd have picked the overs, neither guy was going to get stopped. You look at maybe, would Chamberlain stopping Rafferty? No. Cordova stopping, he almost actually stopped. But I think you're onto something. I don't know what the overs would have paid. Johnny pulling out physics. I'm a nerd. You guys know that. TBV is literal brain rot. I don't know. TBV, the boxing voice. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't watch that, dude. One of you boys told me to go watch the boxing voice. I told you guys. I tried watching the boxing voice during a live stream. They had a couple dudes on who actually they were calling in who seemed like they knew what they're talking about. And I assume the guy who runs the channel knows what he's talking about. But I think with anything, guys, when your following gets so big, you have to now accommodate to the masses. You lose touch. You lose sort of like the ethics of kind of who you are, what your messaging is, and you end up just this drab product that is just there. But I don't hate on anyone for it, though. We are archaeologists and mathematicians. Adu, my guy. Boxing fan. We don't shade. We just do our thing. I hope Canelo fight wakes the 168 division. I agree. You know, Pedro, on that point, you know what's going to wake the 168-pound division is Alam Hunalay to go to 168. Is I heard this one's harder for me to believe because Adamas isn't a big 160, but I heard Adamas's people talking about he was going to go to 168. Alam Hunalay to me makes more sense at 168. We know Shiraz is there now, and you know you never know with Morel and Benavidez, they could pop back down to 168. But it is a division with a lot of Christian Mabili. You got the Mabili Lester fight coming up. Yeah, 168 is a fun division. Conlon's chosen a non-punt. Guys, Conlon should be retired. Mick Conlon, that knockout against Lee Wood was horrific. And then when he got stopped against the kid who was a 6-1 dog, I always forget his name. The domestic level Brit who's like, out of boxing for a year or so. Great story. And had all these mental health issues. And he goes out and has the fight of his life and beats Mick Conlon. So I thought Conlon should have retired. I actually don't like seeing him fighting again. Rivera Cordova was a terrible decision. It was a weird call. Victor's in the house. The compliments, baby, are coming in. My guy. My grandma passed away when she was 92. She gave me the best bit of advice before. She goes, Johnny, she goes, you should always take a compliment, no matter who gives it to you, because one day you're going to be old like me, and people are going to stop complimenting you. So, Victor, thank you for complimenting me. Rest in peace to Grandma. I love Grandma Jenny. Boxing fan, cold shower. Kiza, Adamas doing everything to avoid the Janibek fight. Yeah, but on the same note, Kiza, Shiraz, Hamza doing everything to avoid the Alam Hunalay fight too. I always have to remind people, like, Hamza is the guy who said he was going to unify at 60. Hamza, he said he was going to become a champ at 60. He said he was going to unify, become undisputed. He wanted to fight all the champions. And then Alam Hunalay, he kind of was like, no, I'm not fighting him. And then after the fight with Adamas, he went to 68 and got Ed. But we'll see what happens. He's still young. I'm actually, watching Shiraz operate like he did against Berlanga with his aggression. I'm actually a fan of Shiraz now. So, I'm the type of guy, you got to prove it to me, because I'm not a fan of any fighter. I don't jump on hype bandwagons and hype trains. But, I wasn't sold on Hamza because he stopped Ammo late. I think Ammo should be fighting at 47. I think he's real small for 60. I think he would struggle at 54. I mean, what is Ammo? Ammo's only like 5'11". Not that big of a dude. Haven't said, even if Money Boxing, who's known in boxing to be screaming channel knows about Iglesias, even the 6'9" Kazakh fighter on the Canelo boxing undercard. What up, Johnny? Who you like in the Ryan Gandra Trent Miller main event? Henry Williams. Oh, okay. So Henry's talking about Dana White. So Henry, I put my parlay up in the Discord, and the main event, Gandra. See, Henry, I did the tape on Gandra versus Miller. And I'm looking at the bet now. Gandra's odds, he's such a big favorite. I don't see a path to victory. I mean, I'm taking Gandra. I couldn't find too much on. But here's a better question, Henry. Are there any underdogs you're taking tonight? Because, looking at, like last week, I thought last week Cameron Ralston was a lock as the dog. You mix Ralston being on the show once before. You add in the fact he trains at City Kickboxing. And you add in the fact he was going up against a 5-fight sort of amateur guy from North Carolina. I was like, this is great value to take the dog. I'm not going to call the dog a lock, but we took the dog and we won. Henry, I don't see one of these dogs winning tonight on the card. Let me know if you see something I don't see. Heaven said Adamas is pissed off at Turkey, and Turkey himself came out saying he don't know why Adamas don't take any fight. I don't listen to Turkey Al-Sheikh, man. Turkey's out of his mind. Turkey's the type of dude who's never been in a fight before. Somebody asked early on the stream, Johnny, does having boxing experience always equate to knowledge of the game? And I said no. Some of the greatest coaches never threw hands before. Now, does being a Nepo baby, royal prince of an oil baron country who's done atrocious things socioeconomically and globally for decades make you a boxing expert? Hell no. Turkey, the funniest thing about Turkey, there's no offense, but you know when fighters do their photos with Turkey, and Turkey makes his fist, and his fist is like, this is his whole fist. He's like, it's like, bro, stop tripping on it. Stop trying to like disguise who you really are, mate. Turkey doesn't know what he's talking about. Victor, Johnny in the house, compliments, you're welcome, buddy. I love my grandma. So Pedro says Janabek Alamhanale is beating Canelo at 68. Ooh, I'd love to see that fight. Yeah, Canelo, I mean, at 30, Canelo might be the oldest 34-year-old fighter, excluding, the smaller weight fighters. Because we know, it's shocking to me, Inoue. Isn't Inoue 33, 34? And the more I think about Inoue versus MJ, because it's that weight class. It's like the 15s, the 18s, the 22s, the 26s, the 30s, usually at 35, 135, the lightweights. When you're 34 years old, because you're losing your speed, your reflexes, those are sort of the attributes and skills of the smaller weight classes that get these boys to the top. So usually by 34, you're done and dusted. You're retired, which is fine, unless your name's Nonito Donaire. And heavyweights are guys who usually, because, the last thing to leave is men, is power. Heavyweights are the guys who usually see, not all the time, but longer careers. I mean, we have seen in 130, Anthony Kakachi's in his mid-30s. You're seeing guys who are having, and this is kind of a testament to the advancement in, sports science, nutrition, and strength and conditioning. So fighters now are taking better care of their bodies throughout their career. You don't see a lot of guys get fat in between camps anymore. Some still do. Emmanuel Navarrete. But Canelo at 34 is like 44. I mean, he's been fighting. He's been a pro, I think. When did he go pro? 2008? He's been a pro since he was a teen. I mean, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to see him fight Alam Hanale. After this Bud Crawford fight, win or lose, I don't expect Canelo to fight a huge guy. Do you? I mean, he kind of, look at his track record. He'll go from Triple G. I don't have his resume up. I don't know, man. I'd be shocked if he fought Alam Hanale. And I know Turkey. I think Turkey's going to sprinkle money on. Turkey wants Canelo versus Hamza. I think Canelo would take the Shiraz fight. I think Canelo would take the Shiraz fight over Alam Hanale. So Kiza says he bet on Christian Perez. Yeah, so Kiza, that's a fight that I was breaking down, and it is a sexy pick. But you got to understand, mate, there's levels to this. Manuel Sosa is at a different level. I think people are getting honey-dicked by Christian Perez's record. Both guys, I think, only have one loss. You got to look who they fought and where they fought, what organizations they fought in. Dude, the Brazilian is legit. The over in Canelo Bud surely is smartest bet available. I think so. Turkey screwed Adamas out of a win. I think so. Against Adamas. Yeah, 100%. Who's fighting tonight? Clifton Dennis. There's a Dana White Contender Series 5-fight card tonight. Boxing fan. Geography, physics, and boxing. We're cooking. I'm a nerd. Did you post? Yeah, David. Go to our Discord, David. And it's under my picks. You'll see my 5. David, I couldn't find. I almost went with Christian. The upset. I really think the Brazilian's the real deal. Lambo Gallardo, great take, Johnny. There's definitely differences between analysts, historians, and coaches with the sport. Good question, though. Henry says, Johnny, I do think an underdog wins tonight. Okay. Last week was all chalk. We could be due for some dogs to bark. I want that to happen, Henry. We had one dog win last week, right? And then week 1 was insane. Week 1 was that weird week that, just like last year, the guys are hesitant. The whole be like Joe Pyfer thing and then the following week, guys came out with vengeance. I'm looking at method of victories on a few of these fights. So I don't have the options yet, but we'll see. Boxing fan, rewind the first 5 minutes show. He gave them and we'll post in the Discord. My guy. Thank you. Yep, David. Kiza, anyway, my favorite boxer, but he has slowed down a bit for sure. He's still the best in beating MJ. I think it goes the distance. Yeah, Kiza, you know what I like in that fight, mate? And I agree with you. I'm a fan of MJ as well. I like both guys. This is a fight I mean, not for us fans. An Inoue fight never flies under the radar for the real fans like us. But mate, this is a fire fight. MJ versus Inoue is a goddamn fire fight. I can't wait for this fight. So I'm gonna be playing a knockdown prop bet. You know, I've hit the since the Neary. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I took Inoue to get dropped against Neary and win. I just played a knockdown prop. And then against Cardenas, though, off of film study, I did play Inoue to get knocked down. I got him at 16, 17 to 1, and he got dropped early. I'm going to look at a total knockdown prop bet in this fight. I could see either guy getting dropped. Gunnar Omarson, welcome, Gunnar. Gunnar Omarson, he just joined our Insider VIP on YouTube. So, Gunnar, you have more access on YouTube now, and you join our Discord. So, Gunnar, whenever you're off the live stream, go to our YouTube channel. You have access now to our community section with just the VIPs are posting, and you have access to our Discord. You'll find the link to the Discord in the community section, the VIP section on YouTube. DJ Green, you just killed this. I know. DJ, don't address it. DJ, don't address it. Any locks tonight? Clifton Dennis, I think Manuel. So Clifton, take this however you want it. And boys, let me put an asterisk by this. I never bet heavy. I'm never betting the rent, the mortgage, the house on MMA fights. Sprinkle, okay? The fight that I think is a lock is actually the fight everybody's picking as the upset. I'm only saying that Sosa is a lock off of the film study, mate. Christian Perez is going to be there to get hit. Christian Perez is a fun fighter. I think they both have one loss. But when you look at Sosa, where, you know, how he goes about his business, who he's fought, his career trajectory, I think Sosa is on a trajectory to have one of these performances that you see on Dana White every season, one of these guys to break through with an exceptional performance and get a fight right off the bat. So he's actually my favorite guy on this card is Manny Sosa. But it's MMA. It's an octagon. 4-ounce gloves, dude? Anything could happen. Kiza, Inoue Nakatani, the best fight in boxing. Let's go. Kiza, I'm just, you know I'm agreeing with you on that, but it's kind of like, I think sometimes we forget Isn't Inoue 34 already? You know, gets dropped against Neary. I mean, that Ramon Cardenas fight was he took shots. He got dropped there. Inoue's style is so fan-friendly. I'm just hoping. I don't want to see Inoue old. You know what I mean? I don't want to see Inoue, you know, have this prolonged career just because he's been so great for so long. Nakatani, what is Junto now? 26? Ooh, I would take Nakatani in that fight. Even though he's the smaller guy, I would take Nakatani in that fight. He's one of my favorite fighters. I love how Nakatani, I think the advantage is, I love how Nakatani fights at range. He'll fight you in different spaces. He'll fight you at different distances. Inoue, we know Inoue wants to cook in the pocket. Let's go, which is super fan-friendly. We're just, you know, we're going to see if power and grittiness, and look, Kiza and I are already talking about it. It's not even in the records yet. You know what I'm saying? Inoue has to get by MJ, and MJ was a guy on my channel. I've been featuring MJ for like 3 years. I've been talking about MJ for a while. MJ's not a pushover. That's a closer fight than the odds. That fight should be. I don't know what your book's saying, but that's a close fight. MJ versus Inoue. Adu might sprinkle on Inoue to be knocked down. Adu. So yeah, my biggest regret of Inoue versus Ramon, because I was like impulsive about it. You know, like it's kind of like when your heart rate increases. This is a terrible example. But it's like you're younger. I remember when I was younger, you know, you start hanging out with girls and, you know, you kiss a girl that you really like for the first time and your heart rate goes through the roof. You get excited. It's hard to think. You know what I mean? This is a horrible explanation, but I remember looking at the knockdown props versus Cardenas versus Inoue, and I'm like, you know, I just did the film study. I just saw Neary drop Inoue. Go watch the YouTube interview with Cardenas. before the fight, I just see Ramon talking about how Inoue drops his backhand in the pocket and he's susceptible to the lead hook. And I got excited and I took Inoue to be knocked down at 17-1, but I didn't take Inoue to be knocked down and to win at 30-1. And I'm like, I got too excited. So before you do the knockdown prop, check your book to see if it allows you to do knockdown and win. The longer the fight takes to get made better for Nakatani. Yeah, exactly. And we know Kiza, we know that Nakatani's not a guy that he's trying to age anybody out. Nakatani's been asking for this fight for a while, right? Goosebumps and butterflies. Yeah, Mike, it happens to us. It happens to me when I'm seeing odds. I'm like, oh shit. Doesn't happen all the time. I wish I got that feeling all the time with the sports book. When you see, like, when you know you got one, when you know you got a dog, when you know you got a prop, when you know it's a lock. It doesn't happen every week. And that's why some of the boys, Johnny, what's your lock this week? What's your lock this week? I'm going to be, the thing about, I take pride in is the fact that, I'm going to be as authentic as possible. I'll never shade anybody. There's not locks every week. It's impossible for there to be a lock. Guys, if there was a lock every week, Vegas wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be casinos, these extravagant, ornate buildings with lights and trimmed with gold and silver if there were locks every week. You know what I'm saying? Then you go, boy. Psych, nah. Kiza, I think Nakatani's fighting Cardenas next. I didn't hear about that. Is that a fact? That is a banger. Ramon Cardenas, man. People, the Texas boxing scene knew about Ramon Cardenas before the Inoue fight. They knew he could crack, too. Victor, Kiza, I think it happens early next year. Yeah, that's what they say it's supposed to go down that way. I got the feeling when I saw Sky knockout prop. Yeah. See, I got the feeling when I was told about the Sky knockout prop. I told you the story if you haven't heard of. I was hanging out with Chanel Dargan after the Nikita Tszyu fight at the casino, and Chanel was supposed to fight Sky's opponent and showed me this whole message thread from the Indian girls camp about how like they had turned the fight down with Chanel because they told Chanel her dad had died. And then all of a sudden she sees that she had taken the fight with Sky. So not only did that girl lie to Chanel, but Sky took Chanel's fight. And Sky won't fight Chanel. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is easy money. I actually got that at plus 220. Johannes Koischer, do we got new Discord, fam? Okay, so I got to catch up to the chat. DJ Green. Kiza, Bacoli versus Anderson. Underdog lock was the best I ever had got. Plus 250. Bacoli was crazy. Do you guys remember that fight, Kiza? It wasn't that long ago. It's talking about Jared Anderson when he got stopped. That version of Bacoli, where do you guys stand on this? Because after that, Bacoli then puts his hand up, on like 72-hour notice to fight Parker? And then, because he chooses that, he's the good guy. He's the promotional son in that moment. He's coming off that huge win. He saves the card, but then he gets stopped. And then and then it's like you lose all of that momentum that you just had. That, guys will fight their entire career to manufacture that momentum. And, the few that do, you kind of want to hold on to it a bit. And then he just for the sake of, hopefully he got paid a lot. I don't know the price packages on what Bacoli ended up getting, but he did not look good in his Yeah, he needs it, Kiza. He needs to get off the pies. DJ, I got Barao odds at 4. Did you take Barao over Tellez? Are you serious? You didn't get Barao. Did you take Barao over Tellez? And Rios. Victor's the guy. TJ, shout out to Victor. DJ Green Bacoli just needed to chill. Brendan, I was at that fight. I did take Burrell. Wow, man, that's a huge. Did you put that up in the Discord, didn't you? That's insane. Why did you take? What made you take Burrell over Tellez? Was it something you saw, or was it just the odds? Because sometimes, I think more. We're always talking about as of late how many draws that have been happening, but I think it's fair to mention. I think the odds have been out of control too. And if I'm not the odds are just significant of where the money's coming in. So it's kind of like, when you do have guys betting $50,000 muscles, it does 50,000 will swing odds. I'm not blaming anything on muscles. I mean, he wasn't betting 50K on this, but people do. And so, yeah, I did not see that one coming. I did not. I don't think a lot of us saw Tellez losing to Burrell. I never seen a head spin like that upper Anderson. Yeah, and Anderson, when you get knocked out like that, Keys referencing the Bacoli knockout. When you get knocked out like that, it really makes you question, what am I doing this for? And I think that's what we're seeing. So DJ wasn't sold on Tellez at all. Yeah, I kind of drank the Kool-Aid. It's nobody's fault but myself. I kind of was talked into Tellez a couple fights ago. It's one of those things where he did have good performances though, and looking back, it's always easy for us to look back because Tellez will have his fans that are just going to say he had a bad night, he didn't look right, he didn't look like he had everything, his whole bag was there. I thought Tellez's downfall was his decision making. I do, man. When you rewatch that fight, I think that Tellez thought, why would you don't have to always fight a guy's ego. Barao is the guy who was fighting Tellez's ego, and that was a great game plan. Barao was the guy who didn't have to have a plan B or C. Barao stuck to the game plan the entire fight. And when you watch a guy who sticks to his game plan from the opening bell and then gets a knockdown in in a fight that's going the distance in the last 30 seconds, man, that was special to see, because that's grit, determination, that's trust in the game plan, that's preparation. His pace was insane. But from Tellez's perspective, he knew that was what Barao was going to present to him. And he made a decision somewhere in the fourth round to stop moving. He has good feet, decent enough feet to use your lateral movement to exit left or right. He switches stances. He could have gone left or right, but he stayed on the ropes too long. He stayed in the pocket too long. I think that, his defense in his head is a lot better than what it really was. It looks to me that Tellez probably got, I don't know if it was a broken jaw, but from the fourth round onwards, he couldn't close his mouth. His punches didn't have any pop on it. It could have been a bad weight cut. I've never seen him in real life. 154 is one of those divisions where I think Tellez is 5'10" or 5'11". It is one of those divisions where guys will walk around a little bit heavier. It's a grown man division. I mean, I'm 5'11". To even think that even when I was in my 20s, I'd make 154 is freaking insane. You know what I'm saying? So like in my 20s, I would have definitely had to fight at, I would have struggled to make super middleweight at 168. I'm only 5'11". In my 20s, I was walking around at like 192. And in my 30s, I was walking around at like 185. And now at 43, I walk around about 178. But still, 178, if I were to walk at what I fight at, I'd have to cut a little bit to make light heavyweight. I'm only 5'11". I don't have a body fat. You know what I'm saying? Like I live my life 10% and under body fat composition. I don't diet. I don't starve myself. I train my ass off. I'm a lifelong athlete. But the idea that he's making 154, you mix that with his energy. Like he didn't have the gears. It was like he usually is a guy who could cook and go through the gears. You know what I'm saying? And by the middle rounds, he's doing what he wants, sitting on shots. He wasn't sitting on anything. And, we're never going to get those answers. Even though Coach Bermudez is in our Discord. Coach Bermudez, if you're on this live stream, mate, let us know. Was there something wrong with Tellez going into that fight? DJ, he had the wrong game plan. FX coaching, Keyshawn versus Hitchens, who wins? Ooh, love that fight. If that goes official, we could talk about it. I like both guys. Is Keyshawn really getting gifted a title shot after losing it on the scales at 35? I love that fight. I'd actually probably be siding with Hitchens on this fight, believe it or not. I like both guys. DJ says I had him by decision at plus 1,200, but I cashed early because Tejas looked like he was about to get knocked out. He did. PJ in the house. Ayadi versus Turhan. Who you got? So PJ, I like Elif Nur Turhan. She's the Turkish fighter. She's the natural lightweight at 135. This fight's at 130. She's $1.53 at the moment. Riman Ayadi, you know, she has one knockout. I think that the odds got it right here, and I like Turhan by decision if you could get that bet. FX coaching, I say Keyshawn, but I'm a fan, not an expert. I like both guys, but I like Hitchens' jab. I like Hitchens' jab. I like his speed. I think Keyshawn, I could see Keyshawn being over aggressive and getting frustrated by that jab at Hitchens. I like Hitchens in that fight. I gotta be honest. Tejas' defense was nice on the ropes for the first 5, but then just started getting hit. Yeah. He started getting broken down, didn't he? And Kiza, that's when you leave the pocket, you know this, and you exit and start fighting at range. Use your jab, mate. Make him fight you at a different distance. Stop fighting his fight. But that's that ego. That's like, I'm going to stop. And, you know, that's the beautiful part of our sport, though. Because you're talking about a kid in Tejas who doesn't know what it's like to lose, who in his head, he's that fucking man. He's that dude. He's like, I'm eventually going to stop him. I'm eventually going to hurt him. That's self-belief. And this is the thing in boxing and in combat sports throughout a career when you taste your first defeats, that voice changes. That voice that once said that, no, I'm going to eventually get him out of here. We've seen Tejas stop guys late before. But when that doesn't go your way, which it didn't, and then you see guys' career, then they get used, then they kind of get comfortable with the voice saying, well, you're not that dude. You're good enough to beat this guy, but this is a step up, and you lost before, so maybe just do enough not to get stopped. You know what I'm saying? So it's that voice that, you know, if you don't have enough positive people in your life, if your circle of influence isn't strong, if there aren't people around you holding you accountable, if there's no sort of grounding, this is where you see in combat sports, guys lose their way. You need people to hold you down. Yeah, the magpies are popping. You guys could hear that? I told you, I live in a treehouse. I talked about this before. They're all around me, boys. Was the knockdown the difference? I thought Clifton, I thought he was losing. It shouldn't have been the difference. And when you look at the scorecards, I think the scorecards, even without the knockdown, he was going to win, if I remember correctly. Kiza, they got me at 365 for Misfits. Okay, Kiza. You know, we're all happy. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to check it out in a second. Guys, it's 7:30. I'm going to stay on for about 2 minutes. To give you a heads up on my schedule today, I have a client downstairs at 8 a.m. I'm running at 9 a.m. I have another client so I have an 8, a 9, and a 10. I'm going to be able to watch the Dana White Contender Series for about an hour. And then I have one more client at 1, my time, which is 4 hours from now. And then I'm going to upload the Albert Bell Stats Don't Lie video. So if you haven't already liked this video, subscribe. Come join the Discord. Become a Johnny Says Boxing Insider VIP. That link is pinned in the comment section. It's a couple bucks a month. You get more access on the YouTube channel. You get more accessibility to me on other socials. More importantly, you become a member in our Discord. We started about 5 weeks ago. We're at about 180 Discord members, which is amazing. You're going to get my parlays, my picks. You're going to get access to Chilltown, Muscles, Kiza, Boxing Fan, Goat, all the boys on the chat. Victor Valle, everybody with the blue stars are in that group. We got professional gamblers in that group, and it's a healthy boxing community. During the last UFC pay-per-view event, I didn't even know you could stream fights in there. One of the boys in the channel had the whole card on, so yeah, it's a good spot to be. Salt Poppy named Nathaniel Bustamante. Yeah, he's fighting Tony Ferguson. PJ, Turhan is a heavy puncher, knockout artist. You got her winning by decision. The only reason, PJ, well, she has 10 wins with 6 knockouts. I wouldn't call her a knockout artist. The only reason it's really tough, I think you would hear this a lot by people who are kind of, try to be a sharp better or give you a prediction, a method of victory, is the fact that, you know she's going against a girl who's, I don't think I don't think give me one second. Yeah, Rima's never been stopped. You know what I'm saying? So like, Rima's 11-0. It's hard for me to sit. I very rarely, we all have our sort of boundaries and how we bet. We all have our systems. It's really, unless it's sort of like a domestic guy versus a world champion and the IBF pulled some fuckery to put him in a world title fight, a la the kid from Italy who got stopped against Jaya Pataya. Granted, the kid from Italy, had never lost, had never been stopped. Of course, I'm taking Jaya to win by stoppage. But with girl fights, she's never lost. I could see this going the distance. The rounds are 2 minutes. I already said, I think the money line bet is already sexy enough. I'm not going to get too fancy with the method of victory with the girls. All right, guys, on that note, I'm out. I'll see you boys in a couple hours. Support the channel. You guys have a good day. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk soon.